Hey guys, so this vlog is going to be a little interesting. I got a message about a week ago from Gina, who's a high schooler in Texas, and she's doing a project on potential career choices. And right now she's doing some research into the film industry, so I thought it'd be a good opportunity to do a little Q&A here. So she asked me a series of questions, and I have them here on my notes. If you notice, I have this lav mic. I'm testing it right now. Yeah, so let's just go right into it. Her first question was, where did I go to college, and did I go into college wanting to get into film? I went to Cal State Northridge, which is a state university in California. In California, there's 4 different types of colleges you can go to. First being a private school, second being the community college, third being the Cal State, and then finally the UC. And so I went to Cal State Northridge. It was not my first choice, to be honest. At the same time, my grades weren't that good to get into like the UC level schools or even the private schools, but I chose Cal State Northridge because of its proximity to Los Angeles. It's in the San Fernando Valley, which is just north of LA, technically still in Los Angeles County, but I knew I just needed to get close because that's where kind of the mecca of the industry is. Originally, I'm from San Diego, which is only like 2 hours south of LA, but the film and TV programs in San Diego weren't that great, and I knew that I needed to be immersed in that environment. And the second part of the question was, did I go into college wanting to get into film? Yes, I've always had this hobby of filming different things. I got my own like camcorder around the beginning of high school, I think end of middle school, and I would film my paintball team, my wrestling team, and would do like these little collage videos, and it was just like a kind of fun little thing. It was like, I think I started just making like picture slideshows and stuff like that of like my family, and then it just like ended up growing from there. And then by the end of high school, you know, everybody's trying to figure out their careers, and I think that's a really tough time. There's a lot of pressure on you to have that decided ahead of time, and I think everybody's different. I think you need to take your time. If you know exactly what you want to do early on, then great, but don't be afraid to kind of take your time and feel out different industries and really find out what you're passionate in. And that's what's so great about this generation, is that like we can try different things and not have to be tied down to a certain job. Leaving high school, I had 2 things in mind. Of course, the dream was to get into the film industry, but the fallback was environmental science. I took AP Environmental Science in high school, and I really loved the course. The only thing is, you know, I wasn't the best student. Didn't have the best grades. I knew that going into science would require a lot more, you know, science coursework, math coursework, and I didn't know if I had that in me. So I thought, you know, that's still going to be a fallback. So I was going to make sure I put everything into trying to make this a reality. The fallback was literally just like a last resort. So with Cal State Northridge, I actually had no idea that school existed. I just kind of did a broad search. I just applied. I didn't get into the schools that I wanted to get into, and I knew I needed to get to LA, so I just chose Cal State Northridge, and it ended up being a really awesome program. Cal State Northridge, while I was there, was ranked number 22 in the nation of best film schools. And yeah, it was an awesome experience, and it is a 4-year college, but you do have to apply into the film program and get accepted. I think it's about like a 30 to 40% acceptance rate. So I got in, I managed to finish the program and graduate. So Gina's second question was how college impacted me in the workforce. So the way CSUN was set up, or Cal State Northridge, was the first 2 years is like your more general classes, then you apply for the film program at the end of your sophomore year, and then you do your major the last 2 years. As soon as I got accepted, I kind of just went full force, and you're only required to do 1 internship class, but I ended up doing like 6 different internships on my own. I knew that like once I got in, I was just gonna make the most of it, most of my time. So anytime I wasn't in school doing work or working, I was like trying to intern, trying to network. And I think going to college kind of helped to motivate me because I knew how expensive college was, and I wanted to make my time there worth it. So yeah, I did a lot of networking while in college to prepare myself for once I graduated, to make sure I had opportunities lined up. The thing with the film industry is that obviously jobs aren't stable. So there's a lot of different types of content that's created. There's feature films, there's TV films, TV shows, there's live TV, reality TV, commercials, music videos, obviously online content like YouTube and things like that. So there's a variety of content that's out there. But the thing is that all these shows, all these jobs, they may only last one day to a couple months. If you get lucky and get on a ongoing TV series, that's probably the most stable thing. As far as like positions within a production, editing is one of the more stable jobs. And by stable, I mean, because the film industry, jobs start and end all the time. So you're really like a freelancer and hopping from job to job. But yeah, I'll expand more on this as I go on. My work experience prior to Wong Fu. So let's see, I graduated in 2014. So it's 2016 now, which means I'm 2 years out of college. So the last 2 years I've been freelancing. Right out of college, I was doing a lot of PA and grip and lighting work. PA as in production assistant, grip and lighting, rigging and setting up lights. I was doing a lot of that. I started getting into the assistant directing department. I assistant directed a lot of shorts, and the AD handles like a lot of the logistics and the scheduling. I'll probably expand on that in another video. I've done one video so far. As far as work prior to Wong Fu, I interned for Yum Yum F and eventually got hired on part-time at Yum Yum F, which is a YouTube channel. And I got to network with a lot of different YouTubers there. And then did a lot of short films, did a lot of commercials, music videos. I did a couple of features as a PA. And then I started getting into reality TV, and reality TV is pretty consistent work because it's more cheap to produce. I'm just not a fan of reality TV myself, so like I couldn't see myself going down that path. And now obviously I'm at Wong Fu Productions, which has a pretty large YouTube presence. They've been around for quite some time. At Wong Fu, I work as an editor / assistant director. I also try to pick up side gigs when I can. If my friends have something on the weekends, I'll try to pick up a side gig. Part of the industry is, maintaining those networks too when you have something stable, because it's so unpredictable, And it's also kind of a way to give back, because when you're freelancing, you're constantly searching for jobs, and now that I have some stability, I can kind of give back, and like if I turn down a job, I'll recommend friends of mine that I know that are looking for work. So it's like a circle. So yeah, outside of Wong Fu, I'm still working on commercials and short films here and there. Not as much as I used to because Wong Fu takes up a majority of my time. So another question is how I figured out my film aspirations. So I've always been very interested in how movies and TV shows were made. My brothers and I would collect DVDs and we'd watch movies all the time, but my favorite part was watching like the bonus features and seeing like the behind the scenes and the making of movies and certain scenes, and those really like amazed me, seeing like the camera cars and the camera setups and all that and how they fake certain things, and that's what kind of fueled my passion for filmmaking. And then just doing it myself, making videos on my own, it was just really fun, and so I thought to myself how I could make like a career out of it. So I don't know if this was the order you asked me or if this was the order I took notes in. But the next question was how I ended up at Wong Fu. So like I said before, I worked at Yum Yum F, which was a pretty bigger established YouTube entity like a few years ago. But I've always been a fan of Wong Fu. I've watched their stuff since before YouTube even existed. My older brothers shared with me their videos. So they were definitely one of my biggest inspirations of getting into the industry. And I've always wanted to work with them. I thought that was going to be kind of my way to eventually network with them, but that ended up falling through, and so that's when I shifted into the reality world, because you gotta take what jobs you can, and you gotta kind of survive, and it takes time to build up that stability and that network. But I saw a ad on Facebook for an internship, and I had already gotten to the point where I wasn't doing internships anymore, but it was an opportunity to network. It was an opportunity to meet the guys and work with them. So I jumped right on it. I was on another job at the time, and I had a resume ready. I just submitted it, and I did the interview while I was still on that job, and they chose me. So I think I got a little lucky there, but it's been great. I've been with Wong Fu a little over a year now, and it's been awesome. I love going to work each day. I love the content that we're making, and the people are amazing too, and the community behind it, the fans, everything is just like a dream. It's insane. So the next question is what my hours are like. So as far as post-production goes, post-production, which is the editing process, it's pretty standard. We work like a normal weekly schedule during the day. On occasion, we'll have like a weekend shoot or something that needs to be shot at odd hours, like due to scheduling of cast or crew. If something is a night scene, then we'll shoot something at night. But I'd say about 80% of the time, it's a pretty standard schedule every day. As far as the film/TV industry and YouTube, it's pretty much the same thing. It really depends on the shoot. Editing is going to be the most consistent schedule. But as far as shooting, it could be really any time of the day, depending on the scene. It could be overnight, but editing takes probably a good 3/4 of the entire production period. As far as what I like and dislike about the schedule, I like having a structured schedule because it allows me to kind of plan out my calendar better. But I do really like the odd hours too, because I get really like excited about working on set and shooting, and I have trouble sleeping a lot. The more time I can spend shooting, the better. I don't care if it's at 4 a.m. or if it's at 2 p.m. on the beach, it doesn't matter as long as we're shooting. But it's not often that kind of thing happens, so I do like it. What I do dislike is sometimes you'll go beyond like a full day. So this is more for like film and TV because there's a lot more to shoot, but when they're filming, it's typically like a 12 to 13 hour day. A lot of times it might go to 14 or 15 hours, and that's tough, especially when you're doing 5 days in a row. So yeah, keep that in mind and plan accordingly for those days. But I don't hate it. If I hated it, I wouldn't be doing it. Okay, the most rewarding part about working with Wong Fu. I think, honestly, the most rewarding part is being able to interact with an audience. I think, working as a PA, working as a grip, you don't really have that direct connection to the content that you're making. You're just kind of doing a job. But with YouTube, your hands are directly involved, and I think that's really special. And going into this, I maybe had like 200 Instagram followers, but now all of a sudden I have like 4,000, and it's awesome to know that I kind of have this voice now. I've always had a voice, but now I have someone to speak to and someone that's interested in hearing my thoughts. So like a big part of why I do this vlog is to give back, because I'm just as big a fan as like all you guys that are watching Wong Fu. So interacting with you guys is just like kind of interacting with my friends. So that's definitely the most rewarding part. The most challenging part goes back to scheduling. Wong Fu's known for their scripted shorts, dramas, comedies, but those take quite a while to come up with and write. So the way the process works is, we come up with an idea, we talk through potential plot points. Many times you might realize that there's this plot point that just doesn't make sense and you can't get over. So, that particular idea gets shelved until, we figure that out. So writing definitely is the biggest challenge. And then, editing takes a really long time. So anytime we're editing, that's time taken away from writing and planning. So it's all a balance. And another challenge is you don't know exactly what the audience wants. And, when you put a lot of work into a project and then maybe it's not received as well as others, and that's always tough. But it's important to just kind of like be consistent and then, keep working on the next thing, and, putting more and more into the next thing too. Next question is, what are some misconceptions about film and YouTube? With film, I think a big misconception is, I think everyone, maybe like 90% of people wanting to get into the industry, want to get into the industry to become writers and directors. And that's, one of the reasons why I thought I was going to be getting into the industry. But the interesting thing that I've learned is, when you watch a movie and you look at the credit, there's hundreds of names of people, and it lists all their job titles too. So a common misconception of film is like, you're not going to make it. You know, you're going to drop out, you're going to move out to Hollywood, spend all your money, and then end up moving back home. You know, think about those 100 credits at the end. Those are all jobs that people are doing. That's a part of the industry and a way of getting your foot in the door. So I think don't focus on just becoming one thing. Kind of broaden your horizon and look at those other jobs. Try to make things happen from there. And what's great about the industry is that you can really adapt any job to the film industry. If you're an accountant, movies and production companies need accountants too. If you like sports, you can go into like live sports. You can do commentary. You know, just having a passion for something that's not directly film related, you can talk about that on film, on video. There's dermatologists who have YouTube channels that are extremely popular. They're not in the film industry, they're in the, you know, medical field, but, you know, they're finding ways to you know, get a foot in the industry. And that's another thing with YouTube, is that you can really share any kind of information. If you're a carpenter, you can share your carpentry on YouTube. If you're an artist, really anything. I think what's cool about what the entertainment industry is it can be all industries kind of encompassed into one. And I think that's awesome. And then another misconception about YouTube is how YouTubers make money. And I get asked a lot, like, am I making money? Or like, so the thing is, YouTubers do make money. A good majority of it comes from ad revenue, which you see on the sides. It's the same way you make money on TV and movies, with commercials, product placements. So it's the same thing that YouTube does, and they just kind of they share a cut of that revenue with the creators. So there is money there, but it's also very difficult to get to a number that is sustainable enough for a livable income. So last couple of questions for this section. What skills are most important? I think it's a personality thing. I think you need to have a really thick skin, because everyone in the industry is, you know, trying to get to the top, and a lot of people aren't afraid to put other people down to get to that position. You got to be strong, you got to be determined. Persistence is very important. Constantly learning, constantly researching, and keeping up to date with, you know, new technologies, and just really learning the ins and outs will put you ahead of the competition. And I think that's what's really important. And is having a business background helpful? And do I have a business background? A business background is extremely helpful in the film industry. And that's one of the biggest things about the film industry, is that it is a business. As far as my background, I've always been interested in business. I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial mindset, but I just don't have any money, so I can't really invest in anything. But you know, my mom was a businesswoman. My brother went to business school. My grandparents are business people. So I grew up with a lot of that. I think it's really important because, you know, when you're freelancing, you're branding yourself. Your resume is your business card, right? So having that business knowledge and knowing how that works is very important, because it's a competition. You know, you're trying to get a job over someone else. So having that business mind will put you a step ahead of them. And I can probably go into this deeper in a different video, but it's definitely very helpful. And then, you know, each production acts as its own business as well. Like when you're hiring, you hire managers, supervisors. But yes, the answer is yes. It's very helpful. And last question in this section. So yes, Wong Fu is going to be going to Houston next week for a super special lunch break sponsored by McDonald's. And unfortunately, I won't be there. I committed to a job that same weekend. I committed to it before we were booked for this McDonald's job, so I couldn't drop that. If you can, I highly suggest you go to Houston. Go say hi to the crew and, you know, support. I know it'll mean a lot to them to see your guys' faces. But yeah, I won't be there. Maybe I'll visit Texas sometime in the future. But yeah, there's a second section that's a little more specific that I'm gonna do in a separate video. It's about lighting setups and whatnot. But as far as this section goes, that's about it. But yeah, thanks Gina for reaching out to me and asking me these questions, and this was fun answering. And thank you guys for watching. If you guys have questions for me, leave a comment below. leave a thumbs up if you liked the video, leave a thumbs down if you didn't. But if you did, I'd appreciate a comment letting me know why you left a thumbs down. Don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot of things you guys gotta do. Make a list. Check them all off. See ya.